Hello and welcome to another Creeves Paladins guide. Today we're going to be going over Maeve, one of my favourite flanks. Let's get into the introduction. In the introduction we'll be covering what makes Maeve special, who her main targets are for killing and damaging. As I said prior, she's one of my favourite champions in Paladins, and today we will be going over her abilities and how to use her best. She is the spotlight at the moment as one of the best flanks for competitive play, and we'll be going over how to improve your game with her to help your team towards the win. With a double jump, Maeve is one of the most mobile champions in the game, allowing you to traverse maps and reach new firing spots. Either way, let's get right into the ability section. Ability overview. This is going to be a run through of Maeve's abilities, when to use them and how to maximise their impact. Daggers. Throws 2 daggers per second, each dealing 400 damage. These allow for some serious burst damage, but the best thing about them is their fast projectile speed along with no damage fall off. Paladin seems to love not having damage fall off on projectiles, who knows why, and ultimately this allows a Maeve who knows the trajectory of her knives to finish off targets with very long range shots and put some damage onto enemies before engaging. Another bonus is the lack of a reload, helping you in yet another way to win those 1v1s. Next up, we have her pounce. This will be your right click button, and it's a direct / movement ability. It's a really key part of Maeve's kit. Her pounce is a perfect ability for finishing off targets and has the versatility to be used as an attack and or a movement ability. With Street Justice, this allows for some massive damage, what's making Maeve a go-to pick at the moment, really. It's also important to remember when pouncing that hitting an enemy will cause Maeve to be bounced back, so make sure not to pounce on an enemy when on the side of the map. It can really backfire on you. Next up, we have 9 lives. This will be your Q for default controls, and it's quite a simple ability. I guess the developers got a bit lazy with this one, but it's very important to learn when and where to use it. 9 lives essentially resets the cooldowns of your pounce and prowl abilities. I like to use it to have a massive movement potential. For example, many a time has a car knocked me off the map for me to just use those 2 pounces with the 9 lives and with prowls and double jumps in between to get back on. It does mean you're out of cooldowns, but can save a life you desperately need. Or to finish off a close fight, for example, taking down an enemy support or that player that's just extremely annoying, or even that Canessa that your entire team's life, Maeve, go and flank them, thinking you can insta-kill them. Well, I guess that's where 9 lives might come in handy. Next up, we have Prowl, which is a movement ability. Prowl allows Maeve to move 50% faster and jump higher for 4 seconds. Often the extra jump height can allow you to get to positions you thought would need a pounce. Try and learn what you can do with this jump wise so that you can save pounces for getting away or attacking. It's also important to note that using any other abilities will cancel Prowl. You do still gain some momentum, however, so it can be used very nicely to strafe in a fight. Prowl is extremely loud, so do be careful. You're not much of an assassin. An enemy sniper can easily hear it with their sounds up and react accordingly. Midnight. Now this is Maeve's ultimate and it blinds enemies within 300 feet. When I picked Maeve up for the first time, I actually didn't know this. I thought it would just do the entire map, so really important to note this, and it will restrict them to a 30 feet radius of vision for 4 seconds. Now who knows what these lamps mean, to be honest, but it's very important just to get close to those people and make sure not to ruin your ult by using it at the start of the round or when no one's alive. Either way, a useful tip is to look at the blue circles which indicate someone's vision. Often when enemies hide against walls and buildings, you can see this blue circle through the wall and attack them. It works kind of like Makoa's shell shield, where the shield will penetrate through the walls, so it'll be like a sphere around them, but it's just on the ground. If Maeve dies, the ultimate will be cancelled, and Cassie's ultimate does negate the effect somewhat. Onto the talents. Firstly, we have Rogue's Gambit. I've only personally used Street Justice and Artful Dodger, but if you are a reserve player and like to use your knives kind of snipily, in fact, I've seen a lot of really highly skilled Maeves use this, sniping you with their daggers and using their pounces purely for mobility. It's a playstyle you should try, and works well on maps such as Ascension Peak, with long sightlines but lots of aerial space. I definitely advise giving all of the legendary cards a go on a champion, mostly in casual, of course. Next up, we have Artful Dodger. Now, this is a legendary that is very useful when going up against teams that have a lot of crowd control, but its functionality is a bit odd. So what we're going to do, just for a little bit of the video, is kind of, just examine how this means, because it says to give CC cleanse when you activate. I don't really know how this works. Does it just stop current knockback, or does it give you CC immunity? Well, let's just do a quick bit of a clip to find out. So guys, I did a little bit of a test. It definitely works on Genos's CC with his Void Grip. It also works against slows. Now, it also will work against cripples, but it might not work against continuous cripples such as Inara's. Field might only work just against Grovers, for example. Also, it's said to cleanse Ceres's orbs on you, so if she's got big CC stacks, it's said to cleanse those. It didn't seem to cleanse Drogo's fire, so I don't think it will cleanse Nando's burning either. Next up, we have Street Justice. By far the meta card. It allows Maeve to deal insane damage to frontline, dealing 30% of missing target's health as bonus damage on pounce. This means that an Inara with a quarter health, about 1,175, could take a 1,460 damage hit, easily enough to finish her off. Be careful to time it with her defensive pact. What is it called? Mother's Grace, I think. It will deal the 400 base damage plus the 0.3 times 3,525. This is insane, and in essence, the reason Maeve is so good at the moment. It also allows you to do 800 plus damage pounces to damages and flanks for great finishing potential. Finally, we have Cat Burglar. I really don't see this card ran much. I haven't used it much, and it seems very underwhelming. With a speed/prowl loadout, you could make it work. I implore you to try all of these out and see if it suits your playstyle. Okay, next up we are going to move to the loadout section. I predominantly use 2 loadouts. As I say every single guide that are mine, feel absolutely free to import them and change them as you see fit. I've just got these from other players and adapted them to be my own, so feel free to change them again. First of all, we have my Street Justice/Pounce related loadout. It's really just centered around using pounces for as much effect as possible. The can'ts also grant you a lot more survivability. I really like Walk It Off, since it really does allow you to escape by the skin of your teeth in some situations. But the heal cards can be replaced by more points in Shred and Sixth Sense. They're also important for most things for your main loadout to have a no support and support version in case you've got a grok or just someone who isn't going to be healing you much as a flank. Okay, next up, we're moving to the speed loadout. This is just really a fun loadout. It's really good to, play in some deathmatch games and in just some casuals. Really good fun. And it's one of those things that kind of gets worse as the players you're against gets better. But if you can master control on this, it could actually be pretty effective against a lot of skill shot damages such as the snipers, Charlene, Cassie, or Drogos. Okay, the next section will be on itemization. These are basically just general notes on what to purchase with credits. This section is to show you some good items to buy. Obviously, these are totally subjective, and you can change them depending on the situation. I recommend buying an attack/defense item first. It's normally a good rule to make sure that your team has at least 2 to 3 cauterizers depending on what the support is. You can get Wrecker or Cauterize. Only if you're going up against something like a Torvald would I recommend Wrecker, but I would definitely just say Cauterize up to level 2 or 3, and a blue item can also be helpful of course it's not needed or as a second purchase. Just analyse which one will be the best for your situation. Obviously I would normally go for Resil or of course Haven. Blast shields can also be pretty good, and if you're trying to flank a Strix, a Char maybe, or even a Sky, then pick up that Illuminate. Next up, we have the healing / utility. I'd personally like to run a healing item next. I would definitely recommend Kill to Heal. I just really like Kill to Heal, not gonna lie. And that's especially if my support is lacking. It allows you to get those top plays and can save you many a time throughout a game. Rejuvenate is also a pretty good idea if you have a Genos who is healing you a lot, just for that extra edge in 1v1s. For utility, I would normally purchase Nimble, but you could also go with something like Morale Boost. It's just up to you guys, really. Moving on, we have the hints on tips section. These are just some general tips to really help you out in games and give you that extra edge. An important thing to note is you can pounce immediately after throwing knives to deal a deadly combo. Similarly to Cassie's blast shot, this will really help you to burst down an enemy in a fight. It's important to keep in mind when playing with Street Justice to reserve pounces for when the enemy has lost a decent amount of health. Otherwise they can be wasted. Your knives will do more damage than a pounce if the enemy hasn't lost health. As mentioned in the pounce section, pounces totally pass through shields. This makes Maeve even more of a threat to frontlines such as Nando, Khan and Terminus, finishing them off easily as they retreat. It's really annoying to play against. It can also pass through Androx's reversal, giving him Maeve the ultimate upper edge in a 1v1. Using pounce will also reset your double jump, helping you to traverse the map. I would highly recommend experimenting with jumps you can make on different maps. They can pay off some epic flanks. Next up, we have the rank section. This is just going to be a general overview of Maeve in ranked. I'm up in Diamond, almost Masters at the moment, and where I am, I have actually seen Maeve banned a decent amount recently. She's definitely a top pick, especially against a very bulky team with, for example, an Nara. She's also quite effective against Drogos and, of course, Androxus. At the moment, you don't really need to worry about her being countered by much. She's not a first pick though. Try and grab your front lines then, but it is good in the middle or the end of the drafting scene. If you can master Maeve, she can be a complete game changer in ranked and can earn the team a massive victory. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to all of you for watching this guide. Remember there is of course a Steam community guide version, and go and give that a thumbs up as well as this video. Subscribe if you'd like to see any more guides, and I'm very open to any suggestions of tips for future guides, and of course what champions you'd like to see next. I'm also thinking of doing some map guides and other stuff along that, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.